council person who is with us tonight, and that is Councilman-elect Kevin Fisher. We're just going to ask him just to give a few minutes remark. This is his ward. This is ward number 5, and he will be the newly elected councilman for ward number 5. So let's receive Kevin Fisher tonight.
Thank you. And I'd like to welcome everybody to Ward 5. I've lived here pretty much all my life, and you can see the changes. You know, the one thing Zutali and I were discussing when I came in tonight was, you know, it was possible in the past people would say, well, yeah, those problems, that's the other side of town. That's not something I've got to deal with. Well, that's not the case. You know, I don't care where you live. I don't care if you live in a gated community. I don't care what it is. You know, these problems affect all of us. Okay. Well, there's something that I wanted to touch back on. Was it Mr. Cox? That was your name, sir, the first speaker?
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that because when I was listening to you, you know what it came to mind to me was, you know, we're all familiar with what quicksand is, right? Hey, you're walking along a path and you're not really watching where you're going, and you step into something. You step in and you start to struggle to get out. And the more you fight and the more you struggle, the deeper you get. Now, there's only 2 ways you're going to get out of quicksand. Okay? And the first is watch where you're going, prevent it from happening in the first place. And the second is you need a friend to pull you out of it. Okay? And that's what, when we're talking about gang violence, and we're talking about drug dealers in the city, we've got 2 ways we can go about this. We can either prevent you from getting into that in the first place, or we can all come together and try to pull you out. So, Mr. Cox, I really commend what you've done, because to pull yourself out of it, you know, that's a miracle, okay? And far too many people, you know, wouldn't be sitting here tonight. So thank you. I want to thank you for what you've done. As far as coming down to yell at the councilman, that's a good idea, by the way, and it works. Absolutely. Remember, you can't yell at me yet. I'm not actually the one at fault for another couple months, okay? Like Mr. Cox is going in the right direction, I'm going in the wrong direction. I started out as an upstanding citizen, now I turned into a politician, I'm going the wrong direction. So I'm going to have to meet with him and find the right formula to turn it around again. But I do want to share just quickly my thoughts on this matter, and honestly, when we were down at the Neighborhood Association, Meet the Candidates nights, I asked this question as far as economic development and as far as the streets departments and everything else. Well, the same thing could be said with crime. We've got a room full of activists here. My friend Zutali back here. We got Mr. Cox. We got people from all over the city. So let me ask you guys a question. I want you to think honestly. At what point has anybody, federal, state, county, city, whether it's a councilman, whether it's a mayor, whoever, has anyone ever come to you and said, well, what do you think we ought to do? What's the solution to the problem? Now think about that in other terms as well. I mean, the best way of prevention is for us to start creating jobs in the city. We talk about money as a motivator. Well, you know, they say the unemployment rate in Canton is 12%. Well, you know, that only counts people who are still collecting unemployment checks. Yeah. You know, if your unemployment run out, guess what? You're no longer unemployed. Congratulations. Okay, so has anyone ever asked you, well, how do you think we ought to fix the economy? So I've got a real simple solution. My solution is, what is your solution? Okay, I've got an opinion. But you know what my opinion is? 1 out of 73,000 people. You know the old saying, 2 heads are better than 1? Well, how much better are 73,000 heads being put together than 12 members of city council? Okay? We need to not tell you what you need to do in your neighborhoods, in community coalition. We need to be asking you, what do you think we should be doing on your behalf? How can we govern on your behalf if we don't even ask you what that is? So that's the way I would approach everything, and you know, I don't want to get up here and talk about and put you guys to sleep with legislation. believe me, I'll do it. But I've been working over I won in May, and I don't have a general election, so it's given me a few months to kind of work on a few things that I want to get going beginning of the year. The first one up is an economic development legislation, where we're going to expand upon that on the crime, on the infrastructure, and every piece of that has got one simple rule. We have to take and stop treating our democracy like a spectator sport. You don't show up on election day, pick between two options, and then go home and watch and see what happens. Okay, we need to make this into where everybody is involved, not just in choosing candidates, but in finding solutions. Every single person in the city, we're all affected by it. So that's the way I'm going to treat economic development. It's the same way I want to treat crime. I want to get your feedback in a real way on how we're going to solve this. And so, going from there, we're all going to put our heads together. Now, I do want to apologize, as you probably may not have said this, I was actually supposed to be speaking about 5 minutes ago down the street. So if you would like, I could try to take a couple questions now.
We're doing our part. Why isn't everybody else? If we're trying to make a difference, why can't they take these homes and give them to people that don't have a place to stay?
That is a great question. Let me tell you, there's a short-term and a long-term answer to it. The short-term is we need to do a better job before these things become vacant. Okay? But let me tell you something about the problem we have with vacant houses. Last year, Canton knocked down more houses than we ever have, as far as, I'm not talking about ones that were recently vacated, but the ones that have been empty for, what I'm talking about. We've all seen them. Been empty 10, 11 years. All the furnace is stolen, the copper is stolen, the pipe is stolen, everything's stolen. We knocked down more than we ever have before. And those are places where crimes happen, drug deals happen, in those vacant houses. We knocked down close to 300 of them. But we added 600 new ones onto the list.
And they're already tearing some of them down.
Yeah, and here's the amazing thing. Last year we got $1.1 million to knock down houses. 1.1 million. This year we got $300,000. Okay, and on top of that, they changed the little rule. I say we, by the way, I mean the city. I'm not actually one of the 12 guys to blame yet. But you can blame me come January 1st, I promise. But they actually, it made it harder. This is the state I'm talking about. Actually made it harder to knock down houses. They doubled the cost and made it longer. Each councilman this year got to pick 3 houses that they could knock down in their ward. 3 houses. Now, if you think about that, think about, we're in Ward 5 now, where you can pick any ward. 3 houses, you wouldn't even know that they're gone. Now, there are solutions to that, okay, as far as how we handle that. I have said for years, I don't think we do a good job in city council in putting our priorities in numbers. I understand we're short on money. Everybody knows that. All the cities are short on money. But you know what? The good news about being short on money is it makes you focus your priorities. When times are good, you can put money into everything, right? Say, boy, just throw it. It doesn't even work. We'll just throw some money into it, just keep everybody happy. But when times are down, you have to really focus on what matters to you. That's the good news about having hard times. Now we can focus, and when things get better, now we got our priorities straight. So keep making those calls. Listen, I don't want to take up the rest of the evening, but I do appreciate you guys having me down here. And again, welcome to Ward 5. Please come back.